Now this is a huge deal for me because we were sitting here like this 21 years ago when you asked me to do your first TV interview on a video.
Yeah.
Backstage at Cardiff Castle for Come Out and Feel the Noise.
That's right.
Oh my God! And Kelly, right. It's been about 19 years since I've seen you.
It has been, yeah.
And I thought it was going to be mildly depressing seeing Kelly Jones with grey hair, looking old and stuff. You still look. I thought you were going to look like someone's dad. Yeah. You still look like someone's kid.
I am someone's dad.
Yeah, I know. So you're a dad now. My God. Mate, so much water has gone under the bridge.
Yeah. But that was a good time. That was, you championed us a lot back in them days, so we're still grateful for all that MTV coverage and stuff back in the day. That was the transition from us not being played in the radio to going into the second album and things happening for us. So
yeah. That was it. That was it. You were playing pubs.
Yeah.
And
then 99, we were in arenas.
That's it. Yeah. I felt as though it just needed me to just
strike
pull
a match.
that spark. The tinder box was dry, you know.
Yeah,
but how lovely. And obviously I've followed your career and it's been heartwarming how incredibly well you've done. And please send Rich so much love from me. So and we play you so much on the radio, and I'm always like cracking gags about your voice that can gravel driveways from 50 paces and stuff. But I've not seen you through the meat of your career. I've not got to congratulate you on Dakota.
Yeah.
I mean, what a song. Yeah, I know we're here to talk about this.
No, I know it was that song. Worldwide, wherever you play it, the reaction is ridiculous from me.
I mean, just briefly, just tell me about like how that came into being. What was there a moment of inspiration?
I mean, we got to the fourth album, You Gotta Go, Let's Come Back, which was where Maybe Tomorrow's on, and on that record we'd all had long hair and rugs and stuff and backing singers. We kind of turned into the Grateful Dead and the Black Crowes, and and then we decided to just change it all up really. So we just cut all the hair off and changed what the band looked like and all that. But that song came in a little hotel room in Paris, and then I finished the lyrics when we were touring. We were doing the last David Bowie tour, Reality, in America, and I was actually in South Dakota, a place called Vermilion, and the song was called Vermilion.
Oh,
and I recorded it, and then we found out Slipknot were just about to release a song called Vermilion, literally like 2 weeks before. So all the hard drives, that song is called Vermilion.
Oh, funny.
And I said, I don't know, just call it Dakota, because that's where it was recorded, and that became what it was. But it was a 3-hour recording. It was one of those ones. If I could bottle that, I would do it every week. But it was just one of those things that just came out, and
one of those ones that just
when you saw the reaction the first time live, it was just incredible. Yeah,
and
it was our only #1 single, but it was an incredible experience. Yeah.
Yeah, God, I still, when I'm camping at festivals, I'm always woken up by somebody playing that at full blast. It's always, family camping near me.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Oh, mate, congratulations. So we've got to let's get into your album, Kind. First off, what a cover! And it caught my eye straight away. And then you dropped the bombshell on me. And I don't think the chairman of Parlophone, should we let them know?
Well, they know now. They know now. They've got a credit. But yeah, my oldest drew that in a chemistry exam, and bored at the end of the exam, and did a drawing, and then just Instagrammed it to me or texted it to me, and I really liked it. And I sent it to Dan, our manager. I said, "Do you like this painting?" I said, "It really looks like it sounds like the album," because what I liked about it was there was the reflection of the tree is different to what the tree actually is. And I thought, to me, it represented, we all show one side of ourselves, but underneath there's another side to us. And I loved the solitude of the bench. And I just thought it really looked like what the record sounded like.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw it.
Yeah.
Exactly what I thought.
So, yeah, it was quite cool because it was Bootsy's birthday, 15, this week. So to drive past the Westfield and see a big billboard of this was quite a cool situation.
You've named your eldest after the most glamorous bass player in the whole world ever.
Yeah.
Further congratulations, mate. Oh man, it's so good to see you. Yeah. So it feels like I got the record last night. I've listened to it once, and so this is very genuine. Like there's no analysis here. It's pure feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling that you're really writing from the heart here. Yeah. Like it feels very personal. Not to say that your previous work wasn't personal, but it feels to me like after your first album that I loved so much. You were writing a lot through the glass of a tour bus or a hotel room, looking at other people.
Yeah.
This feels like it's very much you.
Yeah, I mean the second and third record particularly was my first experiences of the world, and then then you get a bit older and you start experiencing your own life, I guess. You know, when you're 20, 26, up to that point, you're always looking out because there's nothing really going on with yourself in a massive way. But as you go through the stages of life, things start happening in your own personal life and your own surroundings. So this album particularly, you know, I'd stopped touring in September last year. We finished in Brooklyn, and you know, it's our 11th album, 22 years of being on the road, and I didn't have any creative block or writer's block, but I just felt like I needed to just stop. I don't know what was going on, but I just didn't feel like spending 16 hours a day waiting to perform over and over again was doing it for me. The show was I was loving it, and making the records I was loving, but I just wanted to stop. And when I came home, I just stopped doing everything. And around about November, once my head started clearing a bit, I was having all these songs kind of informing me how I was feeling, you know, and I was kind of alarmed in quietly what a lot of the songs were saying to me, but it felt like I was at a little bit of a crossroads, and I didn't really want to stop. It turned out it was that I wanted to change things up and, you know, maybe shift things around a little bit with my own life, my own lifestyle, my own experiences, and just make a few, I don't know, adjustments maybe, I don't know, but the songs were kind of telling me, and I didn't edit anything. I've got the lyric books in the house, and they just start from there and they end down there, and there's no scribbles out. They just were what they were. Very subconscious kind of record. I never imagined being here talking about the record. I just thought it was going to be something I would do as a catharsis for myself, and it would just go out for myself. And I said that from day one. I didn't think this was a commercial record or anything like that. It was just something I was experiencing. I needed to get out of me as like a painter or whatever. But it turned out the songs were very moving for other people, and they wanted to bring it out. So
this is it. You know, I think it's about honesty, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you cathart, you're being really honest and you're being open. And especially as a songwriter, you know, you're doing something that's so public, and you're kind of opening up your soul, and people really identify with that.
Well, I think everybody's going through similar things in life. You know, good, bad, whatever. You know, trying, challenging, whatever. But yeah, I think it is about honesty. That's kind of what puts it very vulnerable now, because then it's like, there it is. And
it's very naked, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
it's very exposed.
I appreciate it. Might be hard to talk about.
Well, it's been a kind of an interesting period of time, because I decided I did 20 shows of a solo tour myself with a violin and a female drummer and different musicians, and I did a lot of spoken word, lots of stories, and all the key songs that got me through different points in my life. But making kind of humorous stories of them in between. So it was like half Billy Connolly and half very Tom Waits and very
An evening
serious.
with Kelly Jones.
Yeah, but it was a great tour, and it was like walking a tightrope, because it was so exposed every night. But it was igniting what the band or the day job is now, because I learned so much from that tour, which I just finished. And this record is kind of part of that whole kind of, I guess, information that the feel of the music was giving me, really.
Everything happened for a reason, Kelly? So let's get in. Track one, I Just Wanted the Goods. And you started off with a stomper here. You know, I love the in the intro. Yeah. And it kind of, it was heartwarming to me, because it reminded me, yes, they're still a rock band. And here you are, all 21 years later, still in an AC/DC t-shirt. Yeah. Some things never change.
Well, I like to start records the way a show starts. You know, Roll Up and Shine and Performance and Cocktails. You know, you have Vegas 2 times, 1,000 Trees. But I Just Wanted the Goods was a song which is, I guess, less of the exposed side of the record. It is the song that starts. I still like to refer to them as side 1 and side 2.
Yeah, me too.
I Just Wanted the Goods was a painting I got given by an artist called Steve Goddard, who did the album cover for Graffiti on the Train. And it's basically just a round painting with 2 guys slogging it out like a boxer thing. And I Just Wanted the Goods written in pen. And it was a phrase that was coined by all the boxers back in the day, when they would go down like in the 4th or 5th round for the money, and just to buy a diamond ring or a fur coat for their moll, and they would just say, I just wanted the goods. And it was a kind of cool thing. So it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek song about boxing and doing something for the money rather than the love of it, really.
Yeah, and of course this is something you know about. You've just reminded me, because you could have been a boxer.
I did do a bit of boxing.
Yeah. God, thank God you didn't.
Yeah, thank God I didn't. I don't think I'd compete.
Oh, God. Well, thanks for that. That was really interesting. And into track 2, Fly Like an Eagle. Now, I really love this. This kind of, I mean, obviously I heard this before I heard any of the records, so I kind of got used to it. This really reached to me in a very similar way that Traffic did.
Yeah.
And if you remember, it was Traffic that was the one that broke you, because that was my Plate That's Great on MTV, and that was the first. That was, you know, that was the spark.
Yeah.
And this really touched me.
It has got a similar feel, especially the intro as Traffic and the chord progression and the sound of the acoustic guitar.
But you're in 3/4 waltz time here.
Yeah, but it's a slightly different vibe as it goes along. And I guess that song was one of the main things that was kind of telling me things. You know, the line "Dare to Reborn" just came from the subconscious, and "Fly Like an Eagle." I guess the song is asking questions. You know, people tend to stick in their safe zone, and they don't really take many risks to try to move on to make things a bit uncomfortable for a bit, but to grow and to learn new things. And I think that song was one of the first songs that was kind of informed me to do that. I've always tried to push my boundaries, but there was something happening when I wrote that was trying to tell me to kind of, you know, push a bit harder and try to do something a little more, I guess, honest.
And it sounds so. And I saw when I very first heard it, I didn't know it was you. I think it was Amy Vose played it on the radio, who's such a massive fan of yours. And I heard it and I thought, this is some American like country rock band that sound really like the Stereophonics. Right. He's got a voice that's really like Kelly. Yeah. This is outrageous. It's so close. Yeah. It's so American in a good way. Yeah. It's like it's almost like channeling country music, but without being country music.
Well, yeah, I've always wanted to make like a Nashville record, and I asked George Drakoulias to come over to do the record with me because the songs were written so fast and so exposed lyrically. I wanted to capture them, just all the band in a room, as a performance from beginning to end. So the whole album is pretty much a live record, really. And George was in the control room, being my ears in the room, and I was in the thing, so we produced it together.
Good God, so George did this?
Yeah, we did.
Black Crowes producer.
And Tom Petty.
Of course,
you know, Roy Orbison and all stuff like that. So he was a guy that I trusted to understand what I was trying to get across, really.
And isn't it weird now, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not properly, like in a really big way, like everywhere else, crack America in the same way like Oasis didn't really crack America? Is it, or did you not sort of crack it?
No, we didn't.
It's weird, isn't it?
Just Enough Education to Perform was like huge, and like we were headlining Glastonbury, the Pyramid Stage, headlining Slane Castle. The record sold millions, and he was doing really well everywhere, and at that point, I kind of hit the wall because, I mean, the band had gone mental. And just before we were doing that American tour, I got kind of stopped to take a break. People said, look, take a few weeks off because this is getting a bit insane. And we never went over to America at the point we probably should have on that record. Because I think if you don't do it on that first 2-3 records, after that you're playing catch up, really. And V2 started imploding a little bit. That's when they had Moby and the White Stripes and lots of great independent record companies they were buying, and then the money started getting a bit mental, and it just kind of fell away a little bit from us, really, and then we never really caught back up. But then the radio format changed, and it just didn't really kind of work out for us. But we played like Shepherd's Bush Empire, 2,000, 3,000 venues.
It's very weird, though. I mean, it makes total sense to me why Oasis wouldn't crack America. Yeah. It makes total sense to me why the Manics wouldn't crack America. Yeah. I mean, that's. But
we've always had an American underbelly to our music.
Exactly, you know? And you're such a fan of Americana and of American rock, and you know, like, and the way that you sing is very American. Like, you know,
well, we've always brought up all the soul music. You know, so that was our thing.
It's always dumbfounded me, that. Yeah. It's very weird. But well, I'm thinking maybe this might be the one.
Who knows?
This might be the one. You know, there's several points in this record where I'm thinking this is so America friendly. But anyways, let's crack on. So track 3, we've got Make Friends with the Morning. Is this your handbags and glad rags? This one?
Well, Make Friends with the Morning was a song I wrote without any guitar or any instrument. I was in Australia when that song came, and I just sang all those words literally as they are into a dictaphone, and I didn't know what the chords were going to be underneath it. You know, the song was informing me again about when I wake in the morning, my mind goes very, very fast, and sometimes I can't slow it down, and sometimes it just races off in all weird directions. And I guess having a creative outlet has always been the thing that's kind of kept me calm. People say about being a workaholic or running around this, but actually doing the work makes me feel more relaxed. So that song, I think, is talking more about how much everything gets kind of races around a bit in my head in the morning.
I think this is one of
kind
those
of a gospel song.
Yeah, it's very American sounding. Yeah. By the end of it, I was almost thinking this is like a mellow Lynyrd Skynyrd song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like sounds very. Was Draculias doing all of these or?
Well, George and I did all the demos for them. I mean, the demos are all on Spotify because I put the demos out prior to the recording. Me and Jamie, the drummer, just did them with a cardboard box in our studio. So all the arrangements and everything are exactly the same prior to the recording. George was just, he's an amazing personality, he's an amazing soul, and he's got, the biggest heart you can ever have. So just to have George there was kind of like having somebody that I could lean on, because we were just trying to capture performances, really.
Yeah.
So there wasn't anything. The main goal of this record was not to produce the record. It was about just capturing performances.
Yeah.
So there's no production. But on that particular record, George's really low voice is doing some backing vocals, and all the boys in the crew and everybody was stamping feet and clapping hands and singing. Yeah. So it was a good atmosphere, and George is, he's a lot of fun to be around here. Yeah,
well, the performances really do come across. It comes across like, we come back to that word honest. It feels like a very honest record.
Yeah.
And it's...
Well, everything is so produced and gridded and Pro Tooled, everything today. It's almost like what's coming next. It's all to do with algorithms and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And that's why it is even more exposed when you put it out there, because part of you thinking, does it even stand up to how today's music sounds? Not that it sounds dated or anything like that, but it's a very loose, open-sounding record, I wanted to make a record that was like Harvest or, Neil Young, or, something that was just like, you felt like you were in the room with the band, basically.
Yeah. Well, which brings us, interesting, you mentioned Harvest, because Stitches, that reminded me of Full Moon Fever by Tom Petty.
Yeah.
You've got a lovely acoustic beginning, and then it kind of kicks off, and there's a real relatability of a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
You mentioned waiting 16 hours for a show, and the show is great, but you touched on something that is it means a lot to me, which is that it's the mental health of musicians. People always think, it's so great being a rock star and stuff like that. People don't really think about that. It's actually, it can be really tough. It can be really hard.
It's the best job in the world when you're doing the job, but there's a lot of time where you're not doing the job. You know? There's a lot of time you're hanging about, and I guess that's the kind of curse and the blessing of being artistic or creative, and I'm sure most people will tell you who do the same sort of thing, that's where it comes through, and thankfully I got a way of channeling what I'm doing, but there are moments where you write stuff down and you kind of go, I didn't really know I was feeling that, but I guess I'm feeling that. But that's what music is supposed to be, and that's what art is supposed to be, that's what film is supposed to be. It's supposed to be about somebody's voice telling you something that you should relate to. It shouldn't just be about selling units and algorithms and writing the right format here and there. It needs to be from the right place,
That's it. There's such a strong relatability to this track. And also, importantly, there's hope. It feels like there's a real, it reassures. I felt reassured.
We are going through a tunnel, but I think you can just see the light at the end of it. And I think by the end you do kind of come out the other side of it,
I definitely felt, I wrote down reassured. Was what it left me.
And that's why I like the artwork, because the artwork says the same thing to me. It's like the sunset sort of stuff, and the colours of it made me feel like how that sounded. So that's why I've always related colours, particularly AC/DC logo colours. When they had the red logo, I always thought the album sounded warmer. When they went gold and for those about rock, I thought it was a colder sounding album. So I've always related to colours.
So we come to track 5. We're at the halfway point now.
Yeah.
Hungover for You.
Yeah.
Another acoustic kick-off, which is, almost a theme. It very much sounds like you're catharting with an acoustic guitar. It sounds like that, you're at home and your heart is aching.
Yeah.
And you're doing that classic thing where you're writing a song in order to help you get through something. Does it really help you?
It doesn't at the time. At the time, it's horrible, because at the time you're actually going through what you're genuinely going through. It was the same with Maybe Tomorrow, If I'm Away Home, or, at the time you're actually putting that stuff on paper. It's kind of as real as it is. But then after you've done it, it's a bit like going for a run or talking to somebody else about something. It kind of gets halved or wherever, It's not really the reason why I do it, but it's become what it is. Do you know what I mean?
But do you think that the pain makes it better?
I think that I'm not one of those people who go around looking for pain to write it. I've been in very many positive states of mind and made great records. It's not about that. And I wouldn't say this was a negative state of mind. I think this was a state of mind where it was like I was asking myself questions. But I do think if you actually dig that deep, I think the listener can tell between what's kind of somebody using a rhyming dictionary and somebody actually telling you what's really happening.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, we come back to honesty again. Track 6 now.
Yeah.
So we are
side 2.
We're on side 2.
We've just flipped it over.
Isn't it great how vinyl is still kicking butt?
Yeah.
And I get actually, I'm buying more vinyl.
I know we've got some pink vinyl for this as well.
Oh, brilliant. Guys, can you put one aside for me?
We've got picture disc, and we've got a cassette.
Brilliant. I just got sorry, we're off topic here, but I got a double album. Well, it's one of those ones where one of the halves is what the second side is. The fourth side is Smooth by a Mongolian heavy metal band who do throat singing. Called
really?
The Who, H-U. Check it out, man. It's absolutely amazing. The rocker in you will love it. Yeah. It's absolutely hilarious. But anyway, back to the Stereophonics. So Bust This Town, that's your current single.
Yeah.
And it's another stomper. And it's like you've had all of this lovely stripped down acoustic stuff happening, and then there's a nice dynamic to the record. We sort of come back up with this one.
Yeah, there's a kind of country element with all of it going on. There's a kind of Fleetwood Mac, Dolly Parton style of playing guitar in parts, Lindsey Buckingham, a lot of finger playing guitar, and in this track there's a disco beat behind all that stuff, and some cool bass lines and stuff like that. So myself and Jim Lowe produced that one. George wasn't on this one, but we did that one a little while back, and it never kind of fitted on anywhere, but it really fitted on this record. So, and that's just about escapism, really, about two people trying to leave a very small town and kind of find their way and explore the world and break the rules along the way, really. So it's kind of an uplifting kind of number.
Well, with that in mind, I have to ask, given, it's been so long since I've seen you and where we were and where you were, when we used to knock about in the late 90s, how are things back at home?
Good.
I get nervous asking this of men
our age. Everybody's good.
Is Oscar all right?
Oscar's
your dad
good.
and
Beryl.
Beryl.
They're all good. My brothers are still.
They're happy and they're well.
They're good. Yeah. They kind of they come up to see me, and I go down when the kids are on school holidays and stuff. They're great. They're in good nick. They're 73, 74 now.
Wow.
So, but yeah, they all still come to the gigs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, please.
My old man's still doing his band. He started rehearsing every Thursday with all the boys from the band.
Amazing! Oh, brilliant! So he must be so proud.
Yeah, it's been good.
I'm almost in tears here thinking of, as a dad.
Well,
now,
for me,
thinking what
I know
he must be feeling.
It's a strange thing, because every single time I do live radio or live TV, I'm always still waiting for his text going, yeah, it was all right, it was good.
Is he going to be watching this? Oscar, you're an absolute legend, man. Love you to bits. And please kiss Beryl for me. Oh, wonderful. But of course you're not living in Camama now.
I built a house there back in the late 90s. So my mum and dad look after the garden and all that stuff, because my mum was working in the factories, and so they love just keeping their hands busy doing stuff. So when I moved out London and I had some children in London, they go to school there. We go back down when we can, but they just love doing bits and pieces over there. Keeps them busy. You know what I mean?
And you still go to your local and get all your old
Well, the Ivy Bush and all that's closed down. I still go down to Workman's Club when I can, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. All right, so we come to track 7 now. So This Life Ain't Easy. Now this is, wow, I really love this. This reached into me as well. Is this the long one?
Yeah.
This is a blues. This is a blues song.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard, and it's going to be hard for me to not cry actually thinking about this. And especially now looking at you, and listening to this record, it reminded me of Stu.
Yeah.
I thought of Stu a lot.
Yeah.
And you must miss him terribly.
It's a major thing, and like I said, when I did that tour, it was an opportunity to talk about some of that stuff and talk about the funny stories, and because the size of his character was huge, and as everybody's ever met him, he was very loud, but he was an incredible guy. And I guess the birth of that song, I was talking to some old friends in New York. There was somebody retiring in a radio station. I had to do like a video to send to them. We were talking on the phone. It just took me back to a lot of the times when I first met, and she was telling me about, you should watch this TV show, The Sopranos, and you should listen to this record. And it was the first time somebody was actually giving me things in a foreign land like New York, and I was so influenced by what was going on, and it took me back. And I guess the opening line, old friends grow old and some don't make it at all. Obviously that touches on Stuart, and then there's a lot of contrast between how things were when we had no responsibility to how things are when you have all the responsibility. And when you're younger, you're very free in exploring and experimenting, doing whatever you want to do. But then there's a point where you're being pulled all over the place. And I guess the song's about that in some ways, but This Life Ain't Easy, but it's the one that we all got is the key to the song, really, because that just came out. And then it's not about somebody moaning and groaning about their life. It's literally like, look, whatever's going on, this is where you're at, and you're going to have to just deal with it because you've only got one life.
Yeah.
So that tagline is kind of integral to it's not poor me, this, that, and the other. It's actually, again, it's about hope and about looking forward to, whatever you're going through, it'll get better in some ways, or you'll sort something out, whatever.
Yeah, it did give me a profound sense of the wheel turning, this song. And but it again left me feeling, well, I am a very glass half full person, as you know, but it made me think, looking, like you say, it's not woe is me, and your life actually must be much easier and happier now than when we were knocking about in the late 90s.
Well, it was a lot simpler in the 90s. It's a bbit like the old Chris Robinson thing. You leave house when you're 22 with one bag, and then before you know it, you're walking around with a lot more bags on your shoulder. So
that's one way of looking at it.
So there's a lot of baggage that comes with life as well.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm in a very privileged and fortunate position with my family, particularly. I love being a dad, and I love having my kids, and the family's important. And I'm lucky to be in a band that we all like each other and doing what we're doing and still being top of our game. And there's 15-year-old kids come into the shows and in the front row who just discovering the band on like Sail of V or something 2 albums ago, and then going back realising, you've got 9 other albums. And
that's heartwarming.
So it's amazing.
Rather like Liam Gallagher's getting really young, his fans are getting younger,
Exactly,
that's really cool.
It's like when you go to an AC/DC or a Stones gig, it's like generation thing going on. So it's kind of cool,
Yeah, God, I love, I'm mates with the Prodigy, and I love seeing Prodigy gigs for that reason.
Yeah, exactly,
You'll sometimes see the family. You'll see like a granddad, a dad, and his,
exactly.
and you'll see them standing next to each other.
We've done a lot of gigs with the Prodigy back in the day, yeah, amazing.
Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah, that was a very, very moving, and it's sort of like there's a nice flow to the record, and this gem at where is it? Track 7. It's a profound sort of place for it to be. Lucky Number, and it's like right in the meat of the record. So then we come to what a lovely name, Track 8, Street of Orange Light.
Yeah. Well, when we were growing up, street lights are not that colour anymore, but they used to be all orange in the terraced streets in Wales, and probably most of all working class towns, I guess. But I had a little picture my mother gave me. She found up the attic. There was an old artist that lived in Commandment called John Jenkins, and he used to do pen and ink drawings of all like the local spots, like the church or the club or the school. And then he'd put 12 of them together and sell little calendars and stuff. And I used to love these drawings. I used to copy them when I was a kid. Anyway, she had one left, which was my old school, my old nursery school. And I was looking at it, and it just made me realise that my first ever memory was in that doorway of that school. My mother left me when I was about 3.5, and she went off to the factory. And I remember being upset when she left. And then I remembered I actually had my first kiss in the same doorway. And I couldn't actually reach over to hug this girl because I'd fallen off a wall 2 weeks before, waiting for her to come out of the house, and landed on a milk bottle and slipped my wrist. So I had a plaster cast on. And I just remember all these little things happening. And then I remember my brother, Kevin, used to put me in a sleeping bag and put us on the doorstep, and we used to watch the rain just going through those orange lights in the street. And very calm, sort of comforting moments. My other brother Lee with a pool cue changing the channel, and our black and white telly in our bedroom. And just all these things came out. Yeah, I was a Terry Griffith snooker kid. My old man won in a raffle. So all these things kind of came out in this song. So I guess it's a kind of postcard back to that village, I guess, and my youth growing up in that in some sense.
It like I say, the flow to the record is really, really, it's moving, because this Life Ain't Easy is so wistful and kind of contemplative and backward-looking in a very romantic way.
Yeah.
And it's it's a downer, but in a good way. But then you get Street of Orange Light, which musically starts in such an optimistic way.
It's quite pretty.
It's really heart-lifting.
It is. It's like nylon string and finger picking. It's a pig to play, but it was a lovely kind of piece of music, that I think.
Yeah, it's such a nice dynamic. The record feels like it flows really.
Yeah.
Did you think about it a lot?
I did, and I didn't give the record company single tracks. If they wanted to listen to it, they had to listen to it 42 minutes in one stretch, because, not that I'm a purist, but I think this particular album, I think you'd understand it more if you listen to it in its duration, because they started doing these little 15-second clips on Instagram of a certain song, and I was going, this is not going to work in that way. This needs to be, you need to be involved in the whole experience of the record, really, to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, and there's a slightly different vibe to this. I'm not sure what it is, whether it's just, I don't know, I'm not sure what it is, but it sounded like almost REM-like.
Which
was
the Street?
Street of Orange Light.
Right.
Maybe a touch of Mick Drake in the way that the guitar sounded. Yeah. Like, I think it was the sound. I think it was the guitar sound was just different from all of your other.
But it's it's a nylon string, and I'm not not brilliant at doing it. And what I like about the record is it does sound like a guy just picked up the guitar and he's having a go of it. You know what I mean? It's not produced or polished in any way, and it's very there, and it's a song I was knocking about with for a long time, just playing on it, but I never had any vocal to it. But
felt like a breath of fresh air. And maybe it's the nylon strings. It just made, and that's why.
Well, I've always liked those. I've always liked that kind of John Williams, Deer Hunter vibe, and all those types of pieces of music. So I don't know. There's a lot of things coming through on that.
Yeah. So we're in the home straight now, at track number 9, and Don't Let the Devil Take Another Day.
Yeah.
This reminded me of your early work, actually.
Yeah.
Of course, more polished, a bit less raw, like more American sounding.
Yeah.
But it really made me think,
Yeah, well, it's a song that sounds like you've. It's a song sounds like you've heard it before. It sounds like a standard in some ways, And I've had that song for a while. I've recorded it 3 or 4 times and never quite got it how I wanted it to do it. So this is literally the last recording the band did. We did it about 1 o'clock in the morning, just knocked it out, and we loved the vibe of what it was. And that was the name of that tour I did, Don't Let the Devil Take Another Day, which is basically about, we all got stuff coming in and out of whatever's going on, but tried to kind of. It was inspired by a Chris Christopherson song, Help Me Make It Through the Night, where he says, let the devil take tomorrow, for tonight I need a friend.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess the devil represents the bad times, and you're trying to get through to the. And it starts off with an imagery of a guy in the car, and he's at the traffic lights, and he didn't look, and he's crashed his car. Then he gets out and sees the airplane, wondering where they're going, and then he goes off on his journey. So,
yeah.
But that was that kind of bit more of a narrative.
And it's such an Americana title, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very kind of it's or a James Bond's film.
yeah. Well, actually, no, I didn't think. It felt more Georgia, more Tennessee,
Well, I've always loved that kind of Otis Redding kind of mixed with Tom Petty, mixed with Dylan. It's all that kind of Creedence Clearwater Revival, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Dylan, and that is apt because track number 10. Enter the harmonica for the first time on the record. And it's very hard to hear a harmonica and acoustic guitar and not think of Bob Dylan. Yeah. And here we sit, not minutes after you've done Subterranean Homesick Blues on the Chris Evans Breakfast Show.
Yeah.
So there must be a resonance that
well, I mean, I had 2 older brothers, and I was brought up with their record collection, really. So Dylan was a big part of that. Neil Young particularly was a big part of that, and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and stuff. So the funny story with that harmonica is we'd recorded the song, and it's a very kind of a song about trying to be a bit easier on your own stuff. You're taking care of everybody else, but try to give yourself a break. That's the song sentiment, really, about the restless mind, going back to the make friends with the morning kind of song. And I took my little 3.5-year-old to the studio, and she found this harmonica, and she was bouncing around the floor, and she was blowing and sucking into it. I thought she actually sounds probably as good as Dylan. And I thought, is it that easy? And then I just had a go of it, and I said to Jim, I said, press record, I'm going to overdub an harmonica on this. And that's what it was.
You made it sound like a drunk person breathing through a harmonica outside a tube station.
It was pretty straightforward, yeah.
Well, I say it starts off like Bob Dylan, but then suddenly backing vocals happen, and then suddenly I'm in somewhere completely different. Yeah. And it may surprise you. I don't know how you feel about this, but I suddenly got transported to a spaghetti western.
Yeah, it's like a Coen Brothers movie.
It was, like a Coen Brothers doing a sort of a homage to spaghetti, and I suddenly was in this. Well, you say Coen Brothers. I was in Sergio Leone territory, you know. And that's one of my favourite places to be. You know, I love a spaghetti western.
Yeah, it's a very different thing. That I mean, it's very. I don't know what era that is. But me and Adam went in the vocal booth to do that, and that was me and him just messing about at first. And I really liked what he was actually doing to the song. It was very simplistic, but it was kind of. I don't know. You can kind of see these young men with like side partings with brittle cream or something doing those backing vocals. It's a very odd thing.
Well, they all had cowboy hats in my in my world when I was listening to this. It's so dusty ones, real ones. You know, not no messing around here. It's so Western, and I loved this song. It's a lovely way. It felt like a really lovely musical place to leave us at the end of the record, and it felt. I had this very romantic feeling that you were riding into this sunset, into this big, huge sunset. And I'm in here, and this is what I see, you know, but this is so much more kind of intimate than that. But what this made me feel was you're riding into the sunset, and there was a real sense of finality about it. And it made me worried slightly that I was thinking, God, has Kelly had enough? Like, is this it? Like, you know, am I going to see Kelly's going to tell me that the band are going to split up or something? But then now I'm looking at I listen to you on the Chris Evans show, and I'm getting your vibe now, and I'm thinking that you are riding into the sunset, but just before the screen goes black, you're turning around and giving us a cheeky little wink.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on, and it's a great. You know, that's where the album title comes from. Not so kind to my restless mind. I thought the word kind is, it's got so many different meanings. You know, different kinds of people we all hang with, and you know, different kinds of music. Being kind to, obviously, being kind to yourself, whatever. And it was just a word that kind of, to me, summed up the whole message within the record. And it is, you know, it does finish off in that kind of way, and I think it is hopeful. And I think that record has really helped me understand quite a lot of things that I've been going through. Whether I'll make a record like that again, I don't know. But for the time that it is now, it makes sense to where I'm at, you know.
So, how do you feel now, having you know, you've gone through it, you've written it, you've produced it, you're releasing it today, and you've sat with me that you haven't seen for nearly 20 years, and you've talked about it.
It's a bit strange, to be honest, because you know. I was relieved in one sense it was out today, because part of me is just like, oh, just get it out there, because all this teasing stuff is kind of, it's weird. And I just want people to just spend some time with it. If they get it, they get it. If they don't get it. But for me, it was what it was, and it is what it is, you know. And to talk about it, it's a little bit strange, because I think, ultimately, I think you need to be in it to understand it or feel it. Because I think, as you said earlier, and when I was mixing it with Al Clay, who actually mixed Performance and Cocktails, and I hadn't seen him for 16 years either.
Oh, wow.
I called Al back, because I knew the record was very sentimental and almost gentle in its lyric, but I wanted the band to sound masculine. And I knew Al would do a great job with just 4 musicians, because he didn't overdub it too much. So, and that's the kind of sentiment behind the whole thing, really, is to just kind of bring a lot of people that you felt warm with and at ease with, and put something out there that's real.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, real it definitely is. I hope people do get into it, and I really hope it makes people feel.
Good. Me too.
I really hope we don't leave it another 21 years, because I probably won't even make it 21 years.
Well, who will? Yeah.
Kelly Jones, lovely.
Thank you, Eddie.
Absolutely lovely to see you again.
You,
thank you for taking us through this very honest and moving record.
Thank you, Eddie.
The Chris Evans Breakfast Show and the best music. Virgin Radio.